Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this special meeting of the Boston Art Commission. My name is Karen Goodfellow. I'm the Director of Public Art in the Mayor's Office of Art and Culture, and in that capacity, I'm also the Director of the Boston Art Commission. Let's all take a moment to update our names and pronouns and make sure we are muted. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting virtually. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Art Commission, the public can join this meeting through telephone and video conference. For those of you with us today, this meeting is being recorded and closed captioning is available. You can access it at the bottom of your screen. If you are having trouble locating the button, please chat us for assistance. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture and the Boston Art Commission believe public art is any artwork installed in publicly accessible spaces where they can be experienced by everyone for free. We engage in discussions about public art in Boston in order to foster the creation and collection of artworks that reflect the people, ideas, histories, and futures of Boston, which is on the traditional homeland of the Massachusetts people. We acknowledge the continuing presence of the Massachusetts, as well as the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples. We also recognize the Indigenous peoples represented in the city's residents, in addition to those in the diaspora. For transparency and community input, artworks proposed for the City of Boston property are reviewed and discussed at public meetings of the BAC on usually a monthly basis, although we're having a special meeting today. Working together with the public art team and the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, the BAC is an independent board composed of 2 ex officio and 7 volunteer community members appointed by the mayor. The BAC has exclusive authority to approve and commission artworks intended to be added to the city's collection or be placed on city property. We hope you'll continue to join us at our regular meetings on the second Tuesday of every month. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture has a dedicated public art team, and we manage all operations and duties related to public art proposed for or cited on city property. We facilitate our public meetings and manage public art projects in collaboration with the BAC, community members, colleagues at the City of Boston. And helping to facilitate this meeting today are Sarah Rodrigo, Senior Public Art Project Manager, and Amber Torres, Project Manager. And we will share contact information with you in the chat. And with that, I will pass to Chair Mark Pasnick.
Everybody, and welcome to hello everybody, welcome to the Commission's meeting. This is a special meeting of the Boston Art Commission tonight to review acceptance of the piece entitled The Embrace. I am officially opening this meeting at 5:16 p.m. And I'm also running without script today, so it'll be slightly different, but this is a special meeting, so we'll make it special in a couple of different ways. First, we do need to start off and make sure that we have a quorum for the meeting, and I will begin with Aqua. Oh, if you're here, say yes. Aqua.
I'm sorry, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. Next page. Camilo.
Here.
John.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Cara.
Here.
The next page. Bob.
Here.
Brian.
Here.
And I don't think Kim is here, is she? Nonetheless, we have a quorum. So I'll turn it back over to Karen. We will not be reviewing meeting minutes from the last meeting. We'll do the meeting minutes from this and the last meeting at our next regularly scheduled meeting. As you can see, here's the agenda for today, and I think I turn it over to Karen here.
Thanks, Mark. We have one presentation for review today. Final acceptance of The Embrace by Hank Willis Thomas for the Boston Common. As we're skipping minutes, I think we'll just, you can see on this next page, some of the information we'll be sharing with you at our next regular meeting in February 14th. We have some exciting updates for you, but we will, I think, get more into those at our next meeting. And Mark, I normally would pass to you here. Do you want me to?
Do we have other members of the public on this call that we need to inform this? Maybe not. I think we could probably skip this slide.
Yeah. Maybe we can just say if there's anyone who does join or anyone here who needs help, please just chat us or unmute yourself and let us know you need help today. And Mark, I'll take over here.
Okay. Well, let me just first say a word of excitement. You know, this is always the time that we enjoy the most. It's when we accept a piece after a long process into our collection or vote to select a piece, accept a piece. I think this has been a long and complex process, but an incredible work of art. I was lucky enough to be able to see it unveiled today with a really amazing list of speakers who presented in front of it, and a very moving afternoon, and one public person walking by asking us to take down the fences. So I think that's what this meeting is about. I want to thank all the commissioners for scrambling to get here quickly and in short order so that we could get to a point where, presuming that we get everything that we need out of the process, the bureaucracy of all of the I's being dotted and T's being crossed, that we can get to a point where we can accept this into our collection and then allow the public to see it as soon potentially as tomorrow. So thank you everybody for being willing to take a part of your Friday afternoon for this process. So Karen, you want to take over from that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. In 2017, in partnership with what was then becoming MLK Boston and is now Embrace Boston, the Boston Art Commission in the city of Boston began the process of an installation commemorating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King's legacy in our city, our nation, and the world. Since that time, dozens, if not hundreds, of community conversations have been held and public exhibitions hosted, leading to the selection of a site, the Boston Common, and an artist team, Hank Willis Thomas, with Mass Design Group for the artwork. These public community conversations also led to the expansion of the project from a sculptural memorial to an expansive living memorial and legacy project now championed in the work of Embrace Boston to advance the racial and economic justice in Boston today. When reviewing any project for final acceptance, we provide background on the project's history with this commission. On the screen is a summarized timeline focusing on key decision points related to the BAC. And as I'm speaking, if any of the commissioners have clarifying questions, please let me know. We're sharing a very small selection of the images provided to us by Rob Ryan at Skanska. As is our practice during these presentations, I will read the artist statement submitted by Hank Willis Thomas as part of the final acceptance documents. The embrace is a bronze figural abstraction based on a photo of an embrace between Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. The artwork differs from the singular heroic form of many memorials to Dr. King and others, instead emphasizing the power of collective action, the role of women as leaders, and the forging of new bonds of solidarity out of mutual empathy and vulnerability. The embrace is an unprecedented attempt to give shape and prominence to Dr. King's conception of agape love. It is also intended to reflect Coretta Scott King's faith in the power of art and her long life of struggle against militarism, poverty, discrimination, racism, and sexism. The embrace is a memorial to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King on the Boston Common, one part of a multifaceted tribute honoring the life and legacy of the Kings, organized by Embrace Boston for the collection of the city of Boston. The project is not just a memorial. It hopes to catalyze a movement of racial justice and equity in the city of Boston and jumpstarts the Embrace Center for Economic Justice in Roxbury. The memorial is intended to inspire visitors to reflect on the values of social justice that both espouse, prompting each of us to consider how we can contribute to realizing an equitable and fair society. Hank's statement continued, we were inspired by images of the Kings and other civil rights leaders locked in powerful gestures and walking arm in arm at the front lines of a protest or march. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King understood the power of physical collectiveness in advancing our fight against injustice. As we reflected upon the King legacy, one image, one idea emerged above the others: embrace. On multiple occasions, the nation witnessed the Kings embracing at the front lines of a march. A monument that captures this declares that love is the ultimate weapon against injustice. In invoking the love shared between the Kings, their commitment to each other and their ideals, the embrace is overwhelmingly simple and accessible. It is about what we share, not what sets us apart. Beneath the 20-foot-high arms of Dr. King and Coretta Scott, passersby will be reminded of our shared human connection. This memorial will envelop participants, allowing them to be simultaneously vulnerable and protected. The memorial will solidify the ideals of inclusion that the Kings defended in their united life of activism. We seek to call people into the act of empathy, an idea Coretta Scott captured when she spoke about the power and accessibility of unconditional love. Love is such a powerful force. It's there for everyone to embrace. That kind of unconditional love for all humankind. That is the kind of love that impels people to go into the community and try to change conditions for others, to take risks for what they believe in. By highlighting the act of embrace, this memorial shifts the emphasis from singular hero worship to collective action, imploring those curious enough to investigate closer. The material used will withstand and support heavy public interaction, allowing generations to enjoy and occupy a public space of introspection and a call to action. As a patinated bronze in varying warm tonalities, the memorial is a sturdy bronze that stands tall and distinct from the other bronzes in the park. It will be impossible to remain disengaged. Located at a crossroads in the common, the landscape around the memorial leverages a gentle decline to emphasize the weight impact of the King's love on the world. The sculpture and plaza sit in dialogue with the Shaw Memorial and Black Heritage Trail, creating a new node with axes responding to the State House and Parkman Bandstand. A final summary of the artwork materials, dimensions, and collaborators or subcontractors who worked on the project. Says that the Embrace 2022, bronze, 20 foot tall by 25 feet wide, from the Walla Walla Foundry, Borough Happold, Dawson Inspection, MGAC, Negative Space, Songa and Company, Hank Willis Thomas Studios, Jupiter Enterprises. As with all public artworks, future maintenance of the Embrace has been a concern since the initial design review. We included in your folders the most recent report from Daedalus, as well as information about the patina. The patina itself is durable with variegated appearance that's both forgiving in our challenging climate and easy to maintain. As part of the memorandum of understanding with the Boston Foundation and Embrace Boston, a maintenance fund will be established at TBF for maintenance of the artwork and the plaza. We are working with the Parks Department on a collaborative approach to caring for both the Embrace and the 1965 Freedom Plaza. Details about the fund can be found in the MOU beginning on page 9, section, I think it's 14D. To summarize, TBF has pledged $1 million to the future maintenance of the artwork with a goal of fundraising $2.5 million for combined plaza and artwork maintenance fund. The fund will be designated in this calendar year, and TBF will provide an annual grant of 5% to the city no later than May 1st of each year. And I believe that's to be split between arts and parks. The city may also request additional funds as needed for repair and maintenance of the plaza and the artwork. All materials required for review of the Embrace were received before today, with the exception of the deed of gift. Although the city has always been a partner in creating a memorial to Coretta Scott King and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the funding and artist contracts were structured so that the artwork is not a commission by the city, but a gift from the Boston Foundation to the city. As such, a deed of gift is required for the city to accept this gift. The anticipated form of that document was included as an exhibit to the MOU between TBF, Embrace Boston, and the BAC, executed in November of 2022. You can see the first page of that document on the left side of on your screen. Corporation Counsel Adam Cedarbaum is with us this evening to walk the commission through the deed of gift and answer any questions you may have. Adam, I hope that's okay. Adam, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry, I think I accidentally muted myself.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, absolutely. Let me start by saying I think the most important thing about the deed that has been signed by TBF that with approval of this body, we will also execute and accept. The MOU requires the deed to be substantially in the form of this exhibit that we're looking at, and it is, right? It is essentially this document. Only real changes between what we reviewed and discussed and presented on October 31st are essentially stylistic changes, right? Like our form of deed says like, I give this, this as revised says TBF grants it, things like that. We have reviewed it, basically it is the same deed. It satisfies the terms of the MOU that the deed be substantially the same. In fact, it's essentially identical to the form of deed we have here. Just as a reminder, I'll just run quickly through what the deed contains. Right, it records the act of the gift. It includes information affirming the donor's right to transfer the artwork, information about the artwork itself, including title, the creator's name, the medium, and the artist's promise that the material of the artwork and material suitability for our climate. The deed of gift includes promises that the material will not deteriorate to the climate, and that it will remain permanent and durable so long as the city follows the maintenance plan, which the city agrees to do. It grants ownership and possession of the artwork to the city. It also sublicenses to the city the intellectual property rights that TBF received, right? It's a non-exclusive license. TBF has intellectual property rights. We do too, right? Those rights, as we discussed on the 31st, include that both Embrace Boston, or TBF, and the city have the right to sell certain derivatives of the artwork. And in the case that we do that, or that any party does that, the reproduction must be in the spirit of the artwork, must provide advance notice to the other parties, and most importantly, any proceeds only can go to maintaining the artwork or to supporting the work of Embrace Boston. This is consistent with the intent of the artist who granted that right of reproduction, with those really clear proceed conditions to TBF. So that is what the deed contains. Happy to take any questions. I also note that TBF's attorney, Sammy DeBulsi, is here, so between us, we should be able to handle it. And again, thank you everybody for your ongoing work here and for your work here this evening.
Karen, did we need to go through anything at all, or?
I thought, I think Adam was passing this, were you passing to Sammy? Was he gonna?
Oh, no, I think I'm done. I think the main point is that this is the deed that was attached to the MOU that we reviewed and all executed with TBF. I was just saying, happy to take any questions, and I was noting that Attorney DeBulsi is with us as well. But I don't have anything else to add, but thank you very much.
I do have a question for you. I think Adam could probably answer it, and then maybe Sammy can follow up. Is the next steps in this? So I think, is it true that the MOU said that we have to vote and then this gets signed and then it's submitted? And if that's the case, let's just talk about the process of that. I'm not sure if we need to have any consideration of the deed of gift in our motion. So I'm just curious if you could respond to the sequence of how this works with the deed of gift being signed and then countersigned by the city, and what, is there a time frame on that that's already outlined in the MOU?
So I don't believe the time frame is outlined in the MOU. The MOU, I think, does contemplate that sequencing. It is my intent, like with your authorization, which will authorize the city to execute this. It's my intent to walk upstairs and join my colleagues who are here to do this immediately. So, Sammy, do you have any additional thoughts about timing? We would like the city of Boston would like to
We have
go.
to vote we have to vote before you can sign it, before you can countersign. Is that correct?
That's how the MOU is drafted. So
Okay.
let's stick with the agreement. But yes,
That's great. I was just trying to understand
we want to make sure that you approve acceptance, and then we will memorialize that.
it.
May I ask a question? I did have a moment to read through it, and I noticed there were a couple changes, and one of them that I noticed was that the Art Commission no longer has a signature on the deed of gift. And so I was wondering what the impact of that is.
This is Samuel Bolsey, and I'll just introduce myself. Have had the distinct honor and privilege of being pro bono counsel to the Boston Foundation and Embrace Boston's project since 2018. That change to the deed of gift was requested by the law department. Which is why we made that change. I suspect it's because we're deeding it to the city of Boston. And so we kept the chief of arts and culture, I believe, is authorized to sign documents on behalf of the city of Boston. But if that's a change that needs to be reverted back, that's fine. I brought my laptop so we can make changes in real time if we need to. But I'll defer to the law department. But while just quickly while I have the floor. Just to color timing a little bit, our intent here, if everyone's on board, I agree with Corporation Counsel Cedarbaum that the way this is staged is there's a vote of final acceptance, and the MOU says upon final acceptance. I was probably a little silly, but I was at the unveiling with paper documents and signatures, and we're prepared to deed the Embrace over to the city. Upon final acceptance tonight, and we're dedicated to making that happen if that's what the city of Boston wants to do.
Hey, let me just add one last thing. Sarah, I don't know if that was a slight miscommunication between us. Karen is here, and we will absolutely get her to sign this as well.
And just for clarification for the commission, I sign on behalf of the commission. So I would represent you if you allow it. Yeah.
And Sarah, were there other things that you discovered, or that's the only one?
There were a few more changes, as Adam, I think, obviously knows this document better than I do, but I did notice that the donation amount was also eliminated from the agreement, which I know can be challenging to pin down, but I think we do need a value of it.
Sarah, why does the deed need to have a value in order for you to accept it? And if it does, I think we absolutely will add that. So
my understanding is, and I am not a collections manager by training, but my understanding is that it's helpful for us, especially with our fine arts policy, to understand the cost of items in the collection, and that this is a sort of a standard piece of a deed when accepting an object, especially one that's so important into the collection.
But this can just be, sorry, this is Cara. I'm behind a computer in the conference room, so no one can see me, fortunately. Just to clarify, I think if value needs to mean what did this cost, presumably that's something that TPF knows the answer to right now. Is it something we could just add to this document immediately?
Yeah, I certainly don't see why not. I don't think we're looking for go out and get a professional assessment, have Sotheby's come by or something. Just what does it cost so that we understand what we have essentially. Is that something that could be added back in?
Yeah, this is Sam Wilson again. So let me talk a little bit about why it was removed first, and then, we can add it back in, but there's a qualification to how that gets added in. So typically, the reason a deed of gift of artwork would include that amount, and that's typically an amount determined by an appraisal, is because there is a tax benefit to donating a piece of artwork, whether that's to a city or another 501c3. The entity donating this to the city is a not-for-profit, and we're not subject to taxation, at least this arm of the Boston Foundation. And so we don't need to get, tax credits for a donation like this. So we didn't have the artwork appraised. So we can't represent what the value of the artwork is because we don't know what the value of the artwork is. If it would be useful for us to put a line in it that says, to create the artwork, we can give you the hard cost for us, it's approximately, I believe, $8.5 million, but we can try to get a more exact amount. But that certainly may not line up with the value. Value could be 3-4 times as much, probably, depending on a number of factors, including uniqueness, recognition of the artist, and location, other things like that. So if that's a change that's important, I'm sure, I don't have it the exact to the cents right now. We can spend time getting it if need be. I also wonder if that's something we can provide to the city after the fact, only for this reason. Which again, we're happy to do that. Perhaps the acceptances, with the understanding within 30 days, you'll get that figure from us. As the chairman alluded to earlier, I think we're really excited about, it's a little bittersweet. I mean, this is a labor of love for Embrace Boston, the Boston Foundation, but we are also excited to give this to the city, share this artwork with the city. I think the other reason we're doing this tonight, as opposed to in a few days, is by giving it to the city, that will then facilitate public access. And I just don't know how quick I can get the exact number to you, in all honesty. Because the people who know it aren't here, and when I left the reception at the Park Plaza to celebrate today, they were on the stage. So it may be a little bit before I can get the exact figure.
Sarah, in your experience, does it need to be in the deed of gift, or could this be something that we request?
I think it's helpful information for us to have. I worry about us pushing anything off down the road. It seems to make sense to include a line that says estimated cost of the construction would just be helpful for us as a general sense of it.
Verifiable.
So I would propose the following. Can I cut in? Sarah, if an estimated cost of manufacture and installation is useful, here's what I propose. I believe that is information that at a staff level, we can obtain this evening by calling the people who pay, there's a total amount that TBF paid, and we can, I think if we state it from we can put in their total value of design, construction, and installation, or however we want to phrase it. I think staff, meaning me, Sammy, Karen, and Cara, can stay here until we have that information, and we can add it into the deed so that we can, as long as the body approves sort of executing the deed, that, where we're going to have to sort of add that number in. But I think we can get that tonight.
Yeah, this is Cara. I think that's a good idea.
Great. I think as a historical record, it's also important. It will be in the deed of gift for hopefully centuries.
Yeah, and I'll say to be helpful for us on a staff level, because sometimes we're asked those things. So just sort of practically, it'll be helpful. Thanks.
And I just, sorry, this is Sammy again. I just want to clarify, is it okay with everyone that it is what we pull and provide is a cost of construction as opposed to value?
Yes, I think that's correct, right?
Yeah.
We don't need evaluation. In fact, yeah.
Okay.
And you said, Sarah, there was one more item change, or you said There was a signature line, the cost issue, and you said there was one more.
Sorry, I was muted. I mean, there's some changes to different sentences here and there. And again, we didn't have a lot of time to review. I don't know if the commission would want to see this in more detail. But I
But
think
none of those changes are like, are change the meaning of the content, right, Sarah?
I'm
or
not a
this is-
lawyer, so
Right.
my
Hey,
my
can I
interpretation
jump in
would be
here?
they don't, and Adam did represent that they don't,
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
I did represent that. I believe that. Happy to walk through each change. We can bring up a red line and walk through each change with the commission. I think, let me say this. I think it's important that you're comfortable. However, we are talking about like really minor changes. Happy to do it. I do think it is important, if possible, that we strive to sort of find a solution for this evening, because I think it's going to allow us, it's going to allow TBF to remove this fence and allow members of the public to sort of view and access this piece over this weekend, which I think is important. So if members of the commission want that, happy to do so. But I don't know that it's needed. I'll be honest. I don't think it's needed, but
I don't think it's needed either, but maybe you could just give us one example and then it'll help us understand the type
That's what
of
I was
change.
going to suggest. Can you give us an example of the type of changes that were made? And if it seems like it's just, turning a phrase a different way, then I think we could move forward from there.
Also, I'll quickly add, if it's useful, I did run a compare on my screen, and if, Adam, you want me to just go through my compare?
Yeah.
Just
I think that would be great. I think it's only going to take a few minutes at this point, and I think it might allow us to move on. So I think that's, if people have a few extra minutes, I think we should do that actually. So thanks, Sammy. If you could share your screen.
I was going to say, Sammy, you want to share your screen?
I was not prepared to do that. I can if you give me a few minutes.
I can also do that if this would help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me do this, okay? Let me share my screen. Oh,
You should
sorry.
be able to.
Oh, no,
Here, I'll
actually,
stop.
somebody else is sharing. Perfect. Thank you. I'm not. Let's see, share screen.
And while you're doing that, Sarah, can you just, or maybe Karen, just report back that all the other paperwork that we need is in fact completed?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
So are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Could you enlarge it just a little bit, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
So, and I'm sorry, this is just however the red line sort of spit out on my computer, so it's not super readable, but at the top, there are a number of changes there. We're looking basically, they're adding donor information into section 1, the name of the Boston Foundation. This section 2A here is a lot of what we will see throughout as red lines, right? Changing the form from something that previously read, except as expressly set forth below, I hereby irrevocably give to, the Boston Foundation, which will appear as TBF, irrevocably gives, right? So these are kind of stylistic changes. Same thing in the next line. The exhibit, the exhibits changed slightly here, right? Just to, it's a little bit, I don't, it's no longer repetitive. Description of the artwork. So they added in patinated bronze, and here where we have donor stated value, it was removed. That is something that we've agreed at a staff level will be added into this prior to execution by Karen and Cara.
In that case, Adam, we would just say donor stated cost of construction or something like that, or what is the?
I think that's right, Mark. So if we could, I don't want to put it in here because it's a red line, but if somebody, either Sammy or Karen, if we could keep a note that maybe we should all agree that we'll say donor stated cost of construction, or should it be fabrication, whatever the right word is in the art space. Fabrication and installation.
Yeah, so that's important, right? Like
Do we want the piece itself or the whole site?
well, yeah, so I'm trying to get numbers, and the issue that I'm having trouble with, so that's exactly right. Is it piece versus numbers? And then also, are you just looking for fabrication? Do you want us to include design, engineering? Like what is included in cost of, replacement?
I have a proposal, which is that we, while we sort of table that while we go through this, Sammy, I'm assuming you'll be getting a few numbers in real time, so you'll know the categories, and we will just sort of state, we'll make sure the group, we can stay design, fabrication, installation. We'll have a few kind of verbs there, and we'll add them up.
Okay.
Okay, let me, if it's all right, I'll just keep trying to move through this. The art, it says what date the work was completed on. Yesterday, that's the day they accepted it. There's a change here, right? We now have the date of the MOU, which we did not have before in section B. We're really looking at changing the I's to TBF. In section C is probably the only slight linguistic change, right? Everything above is just changing I's to Boston Foundation. Section C is the description of the intellectual property right licensing. It previously sort of said, essentially we're going to get the things like, as set forth in an agreement between the artist and TBF. Those are all being, licensed on a non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, and royalty-free sub-license basis to the city. At the end of that sentence, it used to say specifically, I sub-license to the city all rights, including those set forth in section 10 of said agreement. Now, in order to sort of tee up the next paragraph as sort of clearly like a limitation on everybody's rights to engage commercial reproduction, it's slightly rephrased. It now says, after saying that they grant to us a sub-license, it now says, provided, however, TBF sub-licenses to the city all license rights, including those in section 10, subject to any restrictions detailed therein. That means in section 10 of the agreement, like they can't transfer to us rights that are not subject to the conditions that the artist placed on what he transferred to TBF. And it says, and the following limitation. And then we have, again, a paragraph that was in the same version that we saw on October 31st, which lays out the restriction, like our ability to sell, to create and sell derivative works, as well as the restriction on doing it, providing them notice, only using it in a manner that's consistent with the statute, and restricting the use of any proceeds to raise Boston or maintenance of the sculpture Again, there's a minor phrasing change, right? Intellectual property rights in the artwork retained by TBF and sublicensed to the city shall include the right to create and sell derivative works of artwork, provided, however, that any and all proceeds shall be used, etc. It used to just say subject to the requirement that minor phrasing change. All the rest of the changes fall into that same category. Sorry, I heard somebody had a question.
No, I was just gonna say, I think you could probably even go faster now with many of these.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Again, so
Thank you for
information.
seeing it.
Yeah. Probably ultimately I was wrong to say we shouldn't go through it. Make me probably ultimately faster to do so. So thank you, Sarah. And then there's really nothing else until the signature block. And Sarah, you are totally right. We have the director with us here. Let's get her on the deed. So we will add that right in and ensure that Karen can sign this evening.
Could I ask one question then about this content? I think that, so the two missing items are the signature line and then the some kind of value associated with it. And I do think we should be a little bit more specific about what value. We know it's going to be construction related, but since this is a city agreement, it's not limited to the sculptural piece. It would also include the plaza, correct? So we want the total to be about the work, the immediate work of sculptural art as well as the context. Is that correct? Yeah, Adam, what do you think is important here? This is transferring everything over to us, right? So we should probably be collective about the total cost, correct?
It's just the artwork.
But what do we define as the artwork?
The sculpture.
Can I say that I heard from the artist team that it's 2.7 million?
Sorry, could you repeat that, Karen?
2.7 million, according to the artist team. I know not everyone can see the chats, but Kim did make a distinction between materials and construction versus market value of an art object that relies on appraisal. And Keith responded that, as Sammy stated, it was not praised as TBF is a public charity, and that was not seeking a tax benefit from the gift, thus did not commission an appraisal. So I do want to, for those of you who are in the room and can't see chat, did want to share that out. But according to the artist team, it's 2.7 million for
So
this.
is only governing the bronze piece itself. Is that correct?
That would
Okay. Okay, so then in that case, the value should be based on that only. Right.
Yeah, and to clarify that, it would include any design or engineering, so that's just fabrication forward. So if there's something before fabrication you want, those are additional numbers.
Does that include installation of it?
Includes
Shipping
install.
and all that?
Yeah, so and sorry, it's helpful to point everyone to it. We had previously shared with the Arts Commission our phase 2 agreement with the artist. An exhibit D to that agreement is the payment milestone schedule. Now, I believe that there were change orders, so that amount was not perfect. There were increases. That kind of in detail explains how we get to that amount, but that's basically fabrication forward. In fact, it notes in there everything after notice to proceed, but yeah, it includes delivery and installation. So if we wanted to do like estimated, value, estimated cost of fabrication, delivery and installation, we have a pretty close to exact number we could add in there tonight. I'm hearing from our PM and others that it's going to be really difficult to get anything pre-fabrication this evening.
Karen, Sarah, do you think that that's a sufficient number for us? I mean, maybe we could ask all of this information to be presented to us generally in future, but to require this fabrication to be added to the deed of gift, that might be a way that we get both sets of information, but we have it in the deed, at least for this part, and get it done tonight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Sarah, okay with you?
Yep. She's
Okay,
not,
great. She's on mute.
I see her, she's nodding.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. Sometimes I have a hard time unmuting in Zoom. Apologies.
Okay, so is there anything else we need to review before we consider a motion?
I think one thing maybe we just want to clarify for everyone again, and we talked about this in the past, that we're not talking about accessioning the plaza, but the sculpture itself, just to make sure that everyone in the commission remembers that.
Right.
Okay. Inqua, I wonder if you might be interested in making a motion.
Ooh.
You were very good today, I can see it, so
Shot. I'll just start by saying, you know, what a moving day it was today, and how appreciative. I'm going to echo some of Adam's sentiments of the work that we and many others have done to get to this date. And so with that in mind, I'd like to make a motion that we accept into the collection of the City of Boston the sculpture Embrace, with a couple of changes, which include adding a valuation for fabrication, installation, and I think there was a third thing. Somebody remind me.
Delivery.
And delivery. What was the other change, Mark?
Karen's signature
Karen's
as director.
adding Karen as a signatory as director of the Boston Art Commission. And was there one more thing early on?
I think that was it.
Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so that's my motion.
The title is The Embrace, I think. You said Embrace. I know it's minor, but just for the minutes. Do that.
Writing it down, so The Embrace. So I make a motion that we accept The Embrace into the collection of the City of Boston, with a couple of changes to the MOU, adding Karen Goodfellow.
Deed of gift.
Deed of gift, I'm sorry. See, why do you ask me to make these motions? These things down. Deed
Can we
of,
put it up on the screen?
pardon me?
Yes. Yes, I think we
Put
can.
it up on the screen so we can edit if we need to.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let's do that. Hang on one
I always
second.
regret not doing that later when we're trying to get the minutes together. So
Yeah.
we appreciate everyone's patience.
Okay.
Hey, well, you did a great job, though. I think you've got the
Okay.
most 95% of it, 99% of it.
I'm trying to rise to the occasion. I'll start over. I make a motion. Oh, let's wait till the screen is up.
I think she's already done it for you. No?
Okay. To accept the Embrace into the collection of the City of Boston, with a couple of changes to the deed of gift, which includes adding a valuation, including fabrication, installation, and delivery, adding Karen Goodfellow as signatory, as the director of the Boston Art Commission.
Yeah, let's put a Karen Goodfellow's signature with her full name.
Karen Goodfellow.
I think
And do
Amber,
we have to say something on behalf of the Boston Art as director and on behalf of the Boston Art Commission?
Love it.
Can you say that again?
As director and on behalf of the Boston Art Commission.
All right. Aqua, do you want to read that again for the record?
I think you have graces there, a little bit of editing.
And
Except embrace into the collection of the City of Boston, then it says the sculpture, the Embrace.
yeah, we should say the sculpture, I think, though,
Yeah,
in the first line.
that's good, yeah.
There might be some grammar issues slightly, so let me know if there's anything that needs to be resolved and
I would
so.
just change the word a couple with the following changes.
Yeah,
And then a semicolon adding, it, get rid of includes. So we don't have wishy-washy language here. It's just, these are the changes.
Okay.
And including, or yeah, wait, adding evaluation and including a signature line for Karen Goodfellow. Yes, exactly.
sound good?
That looks very good.
Okay.
And any other comments from other commissioners on this too? Okay, so Ekwa, do you want to read it one more time just fully and then we'll go there?
I'm making a motion to accept the sculpture, The Embrace, into the collection of the City of Boston with the following changes to the deed of gift: adding a valuation for fabrication, installation, and delivery, and including a signature line for Karen Goodfellow as director and on behalf of the Boston Art Commission.
Great, thank you so much, Ekwa, for that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Yay.
Thank you very much,
Great
Bob.
motion, Echo.
So I'm going to read off your names, and if you're in agreement with Ekwa's motion, please say yes.
Wait.
Ekwa,
Yes.
Camilo,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Michael,
An enthusiastic yes.
thank you, Cara,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well, so the motion passes unanimously. I want to say just a couple of words of thanks before we move to adjourn as well. First of all, to Karen, who did a very lot of work across this process so much. I mean, just an incredible amount of work. I think Cara has been doing an enormous amount of things, and this week sort of saw what Karen has been up to by taking over for a little bit. Sarah, you've been doing an enormous amount. Amber, it's been great to have you join the team towards the end of this. And then all of our partners with the city, I'm thinking Parks deserves a huge amount of thanks for all the work that they've done on this. As stewards of this place that this is going to be, we're also going to rely on them for quite a lot in the future. And then, of course, the mayor's office, Adam and your team, Disabilities Commission, Landmarks. There's really been a lot of people from the city who've made this possible, in addition to all of those people outside the city agencies who've made this possible. So for me, it was a huge, wonderful moment to see this coming into reality. And on my walk back from the reception at Boston Park Plaza Hotel, I passed by the former site of the Emancipation Group. And then I passed by this great site. And it made me think over Ekwa and my tenure, which is just coming up to an end. We've touched a few pretty important moments in the city in these two sites, and important conversations about race and equity in our city. And so it's been incredibly meaningful to be a part of these moments. And somebody asked me what this was when I walked by the Embrace, and I told her exactly what was on the interpretive panel that she couldn't see yet. And I think we did a really great job. I'm really pleased with how we worked with the Boston Foundation and Embrace Boston to develop a way of telling the story of this piece, as well as telling the larger story of the mission. So I want to thank everybody for that. Ekwa, do you want any closing comments?
I'll just add to what you said, Mark, and thank the city of Boston, the communities that came out to look at the designs, to vote on them, to comment on them, and to help guide this process where we ended up with this phenomenal sculpture by Hank Willis Thomas. You know, there are many, many names, many, many voices that came to the library and that did things online. And so I'd like to thank them as well, along with everyone that you mentioned. And I just think this is not the city of Boston that I grew up in. This is a new city of Boston, and I think that this piece of work really signals a new direction that we can all get behind and all get on the pathway. So that's all I want to say. I'm very, very happy today.
Great. Any other commissioners want to say something before we adjourn and get your Friday night going? All right, why don't we leave it at that? We'll give Aqua the last word. So, Aqua, would you like to make the final motion for the evening?
I'd be happy to make a motion that we adjourn this wonderful meeting.
Great. So if you agree with the motion, oh, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Camilo. So I'll read through the list of names. If you agree with the motion, please say yes. Aqua,
Yes.
Camilo,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So we are officially adjourned. Does anybody know what time people will be able to walk onto the site tomorrow by any chance, or that's to be determined? I would encourage all commissioners to go up and hug the sculpture tomorrow if they can. Or wait until Monday for MLK Day.
Keith, here, you might, Keith, do you have an update you could share with everyone on that? Do we know?